in your life. It's not based on what you just who you are. It's your ability to follow follow the system. And that's what this is all about. Now, today is our Wealth Wednesday. We're excited to have all of you here and to be able to go over some things that we think can help you fundamentally. This is our blocking and tackling, if you understand football analogies, and that's what this is all about. But don't ever forget that we're in an arms race, in a good arms race, not the kind going on in the world with Iran and the United States and Israel and all this stuff. But we are in an arms race. And here we're stockpiling leaders. I promise you, every new person you talk to is worth 20 hours of product knowledge. And I know Kimberly would tell you the same thing. And that's an under exaggeration, if anything. That's how powerful team building really is. It's interesting. We read an article this past week that said they asked normal Americans how much they had to make a year to feel any comfort level. And I thought it was an interesting number because we all know the new six figures, meaning that 300,000 a year is what 100,000 used to be. And we all know those numbers. But anybody want to guess what that number is, what a normal person thought they needed to make to feel some comfort level? I'll tell you, it's 150,000. And that's just what's in people's minds. So if you just take that number, knowing that most of them are making 60, 70, 80,000, we can go make up that gap. We are the answer. That should be everything about what we do is we are the answer. We are the answer through what we do by helping them manage their money more. But at the same time, we're the answer for helping them to go and to make money. So, and welcome everybody. Appreciate you being here. Are we live yet, Kimberly? We ready to rumble?
We're already rumbling.
I like it. I could feel the rumbling. I could just feel it. But guys, listen, June is a monumental month for many reasons, okay? One is that, it's obviously the halfway point of the year, right? Now that's one thing. Second thing is, in the history of our company, this is a really big month. This is the end of our first, what's called earnout. And what that means to you is it's kind of the end of phase one. And it's also, I'm a team player. If I know that I can go produce and perform this month and it helped the company more than any other time, I'm a team guy. I go work harder. I'm always that way. I was in the previous company. I had a leader, Rich Stolley, and my number one goal was to make Rich Stolley be the number one guy in the company because I knew if I did that, I was going to be successful. So this is a great month. If you want Hubert to know you, to appreciate you, to keep his eye on you, let's finish this thing strong. We got about a week left in the month. We got about almost a month between now and the convention. Listen, guys, you need to be at the Convention of Champions. No joking, no nothing. You need to be there because you would not go invest in a McDonald's franchise and spend millions and then not go read the manual on how to go run the thing. In our business, it is what we do. Not conventions for the hoopla, not the conventions for the rah-rah. Although you probably need more of that than you're willing to admit sometimes, but because of the fundamentals of how to go build a team and then how to go move our products. The CEOs of all these major companies will be there. Tim can talk a little bit about that. I mean, these guys are major players that come to these events. They don't send their regional flunkies. They send the man who's running the deal, and that's awesome. We're going to Chicago next week, Tim and I, and we're going to be visiting with the guy who runs the whole show. And so that's a big deal. So get yourself there. If you want to become fundamentally sound, I promise you what you're looking for is there. And every Monday night, I host what's called Leadership Live. And these are the top rising stars and also people, a lot of times people who took off from the beginning, but also a lot of people who came in, didn't do anything for a year or two, and then got going. I love those stories sometimes more than other stories because that's you guys in some cases. But then I go look at it and I'll listen to the indicators. They started to follow the system, but all of them talked about a significant emotional experience that happened to them while they were at a big event, either at Top Gun or our Convention of Champions. Over and over. Didn't want to go, but I went and changed my life. Didn't want to go, but I took my wife or I took my husband, changed our lives. So get yourself there. Economically, there's not a better city to go to than to Las Vegas. You can get there on the cheap. You can get all kinds of deals. I want you to stay at the host hotel, but I don't care where you stay because there's all kinds of places around it that you can get there. So get yourself there, and not just you, get somebody with you. That one person you can bring with you is life altering. So let's get this thing rocking and rolling. Tim, we're going to turn it over to you. And now listen, guys, Tim's got some great news today, talking a little bit about the convention, but also about our strategic partnerships, but also, guys, we launched Canada in a big, big way this past Saturday. And I'm committed to go there. I know Dawn and Sam and others are going to go there with me as well. So, Tim, thanks for being here. We're excited to hear from you.
Hey, thanks. Appreciate that, Jody. You
Saw
know,
you buttoning up your shirt. I was worried you were going to pull a James and start unbuttoning it there for a
no,
second.
no, no. I didn't want you to see my reading glasses hanging there.
I love it.
Yeah, let me tell you, we had a kickoff meeting up in Toronto at the Sheraton up there at the airport. And so we had probably 30 leaders come up from the US. It was pretty impressive, I'll tell you. And we had six product manufacturers. The six we're going to start off with, less one, actually five, and then Card Financial, our MGA partner up there. And they were awesome. Kirk was there and his team, actually. They were very supportive. And we had a total of 200 people show up all together. And we filled up the room. This is HDI kind of tradition, but we had to bring in 20 more chairs than what we originally thought. I was thinking, we're going to have 175, 180. If we could fill up that room, it would be awesome. And we had overflow, people standing up. We had to call in more chairs, pack the place in. Nobody left. We started at 9. It went on for 2.5 hours. Even after we finished up the meeting, everybody in the whole place stayed and talked to their whoever brought them. And it was a real powerful meeting. I mean, you could feel the energy in the room. It was very inspiring, motivational. We talked about the opportunity up there, introduced some of the product companies, talked about our partner up there with Card Financial Group, and just really exciting. And so we're cleared. We've got we're all licensed. Our products are licensed. We're ready to go. It's going to be a big opportunity. So Jody, appreciate you coming up there soon. And Jody had he had a big deal this past weekend. Jody, what you want to tell everybody?
Oh, well, that was my second wedding anniversary. So my wife was clear that I wasn't going to Canada. But we actually went to Aruba, and it was a wonderful time. It was a dream. And I'm a very blessed guy. But I will be there next go round, and I'm very excited about what's going on in Canada.
Yeah, I told Jody that was a good call. So let me jump in here on the market, because I want you all to be armed a little bit, because I keep talking about a lot of things going on here, and how this affects what you're doing, because there's a direct relationship between what is going on in the investment markets with what we do, because in the end, this is going to affect jobs and people's opportunities and careers. And that's what we're talking to people about. And everybody in this company starts off part-time at some point in their life, in their career with HDI. Most everybody here started off part-time. And so there's this huge disconnect I'm seeing in the market. We had this Israel attack on Iran, and then the U.S. comes in and we bomb. That was quite an impressive show of military strength that the U.S. did. Whether you agree or not, it doesn't matter. We got to stay out of the political side of this. I warn everybody on this call that anytime you talk about the economy, stay out of the politics of it, no matter what side you're on. Always talk about the economy, what's going on, and how it's going to affect jobs, and how it's going to affect potential, your earning potential somewhere, or your career. And all we're offering you is an opportunity to look at another stream of revenue, another opportunity in doing something different that helps people. And the reason that we're having this economic discussion every week is to empower you with some understanding of how these markets work and what affects them and why we're seeing, when you open up the newspaper or you watch the news, and the S&P 500 is teetering right now on hitting another record high. The Nasdaq 100 just hit another high. All the indexes are right there at their market highs. And I'm seeing an extreme disconnect right now between the economy and the stock market. To me, it's mind boggling. And here's why. You've got tariffs, right? The 55 or 50% tariffs haven't even kicked in with China yet. Some of them are going to be 20%, some will be 25. It's across the board, but we're going to see tariffs well up into the 50% range in China. And China's a big importer for us. You're going to see, still with interest rates high, we're having a struggling economy due to real estate. There's not much real estate activity going on in the US. And what does that affect? That affects a lot of things. Interest rates are still high. We're seeing supply chain disruption. And so and then look at the national debt. We just went over $27 trillion. And this year's budget, it looks like it's going to be about $2 trillion deficit. So when you see all this, and also, but don't forget the credit card debt is also at an all-time high. And I think I read this, the average credit card is somewhere over $10,000 now that the American averages that people carry at a 21.4% interest now. So credit card companies are raising their interest rates because the risk is going higher. And so what's that telling you is people are defaulting on paying their credit cards on time. People are defaulting on paying their car payments. This is all the undertow of what's going on in America that the stock market isn't seeing. So what I predict is the stock market is in a direction. Oftentimes you see a market like this, it's moving in a very positive way, and it's going off of things like artificial intelligence. It's
NVIDIA.
thank you.
Yeah.
I got Jody there
You do
backing me
well.
up. NVIDIA is really driving the market, and a lot of these AI stocks and the tech stocks are all driving it because they see such a potential for those chips that they're making. And let me tell you, NVIDIA is amazing. I mean, what they're doing to AI is absolutely mind-boggling. There's these three different levels of AI, in which the basic one is like, automated driving for your car and different apps, when you call in for customer service. Those are the basic AI usage. When you get to the second level, which is AGI, you're going to start seeing advances in artificial intelligence that are going to be mind-boggling. The third level is something in the future, probably 5 years, 6 years off, where I think we're all going to go take a vacation, is from what they're saying. But there's still going to be jobs out there. But a lot of people are going to lose their jobs with this AI thing. But right now, AI is driving the market. It's causing this disconnect. That's my opinion. That's why we're seeing the markets at all these highs. It's just like 2 days, 3 days max. The market wasn't even flinched over this Israel attack and then the U.S. joining in on this attack on Iran. And so, you see all these factors, like increasing debt, the U.S. debt, the credit card debt, the car sales in the U.S. Over the last 5 months has been decreasing. Small businesses aren't hiring anymore. The sentiment in America basically is getting lower and lower. People that are spending money are looking for value out there when they spend their money. So these are all indicators that the economy is slowing down. But the stock market, you couldn't tell it if you pick up the paper every day, and the market is at all-time highs. So when it crumbles, let me tell you, I've been doing this for 40 something years. When it crumbles, it goes down fast. Markets go up slow over 6, 8, 9, 10 years, but when they fall, it happens in a shorter 6 month to 2 year period. I mean, they go whack. And so I think we're going to see something similar to that happening sometime over the next year. I keep predicting that, but it's been a slow regression. We think that the impact of the tariffs haven't even shown up yet because of all the front end buying that's taken place that a lot of companies did before the tariffs were implemented. And so we're going to see the impact of this somewhere around October, November, right in the last quarter of the year, and then that's going to cause the Federal Reserve to lower interest rates, and then that's going to try to pick up the economy again. But I think it'll be too late by the time that happens. So this is a recruiting opportunity. I keep preaching this. I'm telling you, you got to get out and tell our story. This is our greatest time right now. What Jody was just saying, we got the convention coming up. We've got this opportunity right now with all the products. We're so powerful in the market right now, and story to tell. It's your story. It's your own story. It's the story of your team. It's what you're building. You're building your business right now, and you build it around the framework of knowing what's going on in the economy here. So that's my story today, Jody. Turn it
Thank you,
back to
bud.
you.
You bet. Fantastic stuff. And if I could, you talked about the economy, how it takes or a market that takes a while to build up and can destroy like that. Just always remember your reputation is the exact same way. You can go build it up your whole life. One wrong move, you can destroy your own reputation. So remember that in this business because it's all you got. Who you are is all you got. And remember, you represent the company every time you're out there opening your mouth. And, so having said that, when Tim's talking about this is a great recruiting time, is because all of our products create a circle to safety control. What we're talking about on the entrepreneur side is that with the less risk possible, you can come into this business, build a business where you control your own life. Those things are powerful. Those are powerful. So to turn it over to great partner Kimberly Odie. And once again, we're going to stress the importance of an FNA and what that leads to. So, and then we got some great bombshell things to show you from the crazy mind of Mauricio Garcia that you're going to love. So, Kimberly.
Yeah, awesome. I'm just going to take a few minutes today, but I want to talk to you guys. I was on that Nyschloss and Fleming webinar yesterday. I don't know if you guys were or you weren't, but they are our Medicare arm, right? They help us with Medicare products and, all of the tools and technology and all of that to write Medicare. And so I think that there's a huge opportunity that I want you guys to think about. I don't want you to throw the baby out with the bathwater and go do Medicare seminars and go put yourself out there literally as a Medicare agent. If you want to, and that's who you want to be, fine. But obviously, that's not our system. That's just a sales conversation. If you want to do that, do that. But I do want you to think about who do you know in your network that needs Medicare? Right? They have to buy it, right? They have to have a supplement or an advantage plan or something like that when they turn 65. So who do you know that either is right there at 65 or is 65 or older? And that will give you an opportunity to have a conversation with them about their Medicare specifically. Jody's correct, right? Everything leads back to the FNA. When you talk to them, you know how old they are, you know if they have Medicare or supplements or anything like that. So think about that and just remember that that is another arrow in your quiver, right? Another tool that you guys have, another product that you can offer to give them that full financial services experience. Pro tip, because I think those are important at this moment. When you get your life insurance license, get your life and health license. If you don't, then you can't obviously write health insurance, which Medicare is, but it also means you can't override it, right? So go ahead and get that health insurance license as well. The timing and the cost is the same. I think it's a 20-hour course for life or a 20-hour course for life and health. So unless you're worried about the content, do it both at the same time. It'll save you time. It'll make you more money later on down the road. But I think that that's a huge opportunity that I want you guys to think about and want you to be aware of, right? And I am by no means, like zero, a Medicare expert, but I want to make it simple because I've had several people in our team specifically that want to do Medicare, and that when they reach out to NICHLOS or someone outside of our group, they get confused because it's a very overwhelming, very regulated industry, like recorded phone calls and like all this craziness, things you can say, things you can't say. And a lot of my people have been like, oh, just kidding, I don't really want to do that. But I don't think it has to be that way. So let me walk you through the process of if you want to sell Medicare, how you do that, right? And there's an open enrollment period that's coming up, I think, in October. But now is the time to be prepared for when that open enrollment period starts. And as far as the open enrollment period, let's say you've got 10 friends and family members that qualify for Medicare. You can't change their current plan until open enrollment without a qualifying event. So most of your opportunity is going to be from like October to January to make these changes and have these conversations. Sometimes, like if you have somebody turning 65 tomorrow, obviously that's a current option, but most of it is just going to be having those conversations to change people around in October. So in order to be prepared to sell Medicare in October, number one, you have to be health licensed, right? Which you all should be. And if you aren't, go add that to your license because you're going to want that. But number two, every single year they have what's called AHIP. I don't even know what it stands for. I have no idea. I just know it's a course you have to take and it's something you have to pass in order to be allowed to sell Medicare. And there are multiple steps in this process, so I want you to hear me when I say it. This webinar from NICHLOS is recorded from yesterday. Obviously, this is live streamed on YouTube, so you can go back and listen to it as well. But health insurance license, and then you have to take your AHIP. The AHIP will be available starting this Friday, the 27th, and you can access it through our back office. When you go to business and then product providers and then NICHLOS and Fleming, you'll be able to access that there. You can take AHIP directly, and it's going to be $175, or you can take it through Aetna, which should be available on Friday, and he said he'll send out the information that will save you $50. So it'll be $125. But that is a cost that you will pay every single year to sell Medicare, because every single year you have to take that certification again. So once you've got your health license, once you've got your AHIP, now you're ready to actually get appointed with providers. You guys that are life insurance licensed and been here with us for a minute, you know what that looks like, right? I want to sell Corbridge. Great. I've got to go to Corbridge, click on their application, get appointed, and now I can actually sell Corbridge. Exactly the same thing in the health insurance world. If I want to sell Aetna, I've got to get appointed with Aetna. If I want to sell United Healthcare, I've got to get appointed with United Healthcare. All of that is done through NICHLOS and Fleming. They have a form that you just click and say, hey, I want to get appointed, and you just check the carriers and send it to them, and they will send you, it's not through SureLC, so they'll send you basically the links for each of the carriers to get that appointment. It's a lot, so bear with me saying this. Every carrier also has their own required training. So if you get appointed with Aetna, United Healthcare, and Cigna, let's say, you're going to take 3 different training courses for that company specifically. Again, I'm not a Medicare expert. If anybody on here wants to tell how long those are, they can. But my assumption is it's probably pretty quick, right? It's just one of those things that you just have to check your boxes, and then you're ready to sell your Medicare. Through NICHLOS and Fleming, and obviously Integrity, once all of that is done and they can see that we are verified to sell Medicare because we've checked all of our boxes, then we will have access to, I think it's called Medicare Center. I don't know if I wrote that down, but I think that's what it's called. Yeah, Medicare Center. So once you've done all the minutia to actually be able to write the business, Medicare Center is amazing, right? You can go in, if any of you guys are health licensed and you've done Health Sherpa, it's very similar, right? You can go in, you can put their name and their birth date and their hospitals and their doctors and their medications. And Medicare Center will search all of the options that you have to sell, and they'll be like, hey, you've got these 3 choices. And then it's as simple as looking at the differences and saying, you have this coverage or that coverage, which would you prefer? But it does everything for you in that Medicare Center. It has your call recordings, right? Call recordings. If you make a phone call for Medicare, it's required to keep them for 10 years. I don't know about you guys, but I have zero desire to figure out how to save a recording for 10 years. Medicare Center does all of that for you. All of that compliance piece is taken care of, and it will make it very simple. But the other thing that I want you guys to hear me say, so there is a lot of minutia in just getting ready to sell Medicare, which is why you should start doing it now. But once you do, go sell, right? Go offer it to your friends and family. If you want to do the Medicare things, you can, but at least gather the assets or gather the business of your close friends and family, right? Why not? They have to have it. It's not an option. It's not a requirement. They probably are not obligated to their Medicare agent because they probably don't really know them, right? So go have them. Even if you don't change anything other than agent of record, you're still going to get paid. So go have those conversations when you're ready for it in October. And they said that they're going to announce it in Vegas as far as how much it actually is going to pay, because I guess it changes every single year federally, right? Like across the US. It's not a HGI conversation or a nice loss. It's what are we paying for Medicare sales every single year? But he said yesterday that he thinks it's going to pay $750 an application. So if I have 10 people in my family or friends or neighbors or whatever that I know have to have Medicare anyway, and I go out there and I write those applications, that's an easy $7,500 that I just made, right? Super easy, taken care of, and you can have those other conversations about their FNA and the rest of their products and services and things that they need. And I promise you that if they're Medicare age, they have friends that are Medicare age that can send that to you as well. And also, just the last thing that I'll say about that is that it also provides residuals, right? So if I make $7,500 this year, and maybe the residuals are half, I don't really know. Again, if there's some Medicare expert on here, they can tell us. But what if it's half? So I make $7,500 this year, and next year I make $4,000 for doing nothing. As long as they're still alive and still my client, it's just going to renew. Most people don't switch those plans every single year. They set it and forget it, right? So once you build that book of business, it just literally pays you, every single year's residual income. And you can grow that book of business while doing everything else as well. So I wanted you guys to know that there's a tool, right, that you have access to, and a product that you have access to that people have to buy. It is not an option. They have to buy it. So why not put yourself in the position to gather those assets too? And having that full FNA conversation, you're also going to have the ability, to talk to them about other things, whether it's annuities or managed money or whatever that is. Besides Affordable Care Act, do we have the ability to sign younger people up for health insurance? We do not at this moment have any health insurance outside of Marketplace. All of our stuff is through Marketplace. If that changes in the future, you'll have that as an option. But typically, I've only seen them need that if it were like private businesses and things like that. And I'm very ignorant on health insurance too, but I've sold some, so I know it's possible, and I know you can do it, right? If my client needs it, I'm going to figure out how to make it happen, and that's just another avenue for you to make money. James, did you have a question?
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I wanted to add too, on the recruitment front with Medicare agents, if you come across Medicare agents, many of them are looking to add additional product solutions to their mix of what they're offering those clients, those retirees, if you will. So life insurance and especially fixed indexed annuities go hand in glove and just make for a perfect match to provide more options for them, more commissions for them, more split commissions to you, more overrides, et cetera, et cetera.
That's a great example. And one of the things, and again, I do not have a ton of experience in this world, but we do have a guy on our team that is a Medicare agency, right? That's what he does. So understand the recruiting opportunity for you as well. Even if you never want to sell Medicare, if you don't, You don't have to do your AHIP and all that, but you do have to have a health license in order to be paid. So if you go hire a Medicare agency and it's the same for them to bring their business here or continue doing it where they are and they bring it here, you've got all those overrides that are built in. The other thing that I have seen from a Medicare agency is they don't pass that entire, let's just say it's $750 onto their agents, because then they don't make any money, right? So maybe they'll pass $700 away or down to them. So you have the opportunity to increase your Medicare agent's income for them coming over here. And we have those overrides, which other traditional agencies, unless you're like the broker of record, they don't have those things, at least from what I've seen in the past. So big opportunities, I think. Jody?
Fantastic. And the key piece on this is the residual side of it. I mean, this is a significant residual opportunity. And to be candid with you, it's a more stable ground than health insurance is, as far as the market and changing and things like that. Even the people on here that are in health insurance would tell you there's a lot of changes afoot with that whole world. The other thing is, last night we had a lady who came to the meeting, her and her husband. She was all excited. I asked her what she liked the most, and you know what she said? This is after us. This is after Mauricio hitting her full speed, me kicking butt, James doing his best, us showing her everything. Home office. She goes, I like the fact that you guys have that Medicare stuff. True story. So I'm like, hey, me too. Isn't that great? And I want to tell you something else, guys. You realize you come in here every week on Wednesday, and you expect to hear great things from Kimberly. Kimberly went to the same webinar that all of you could have been on yesterday. And I'm just telling you, you're pulling your own little red wagon. Yes, it's good to come on here and get this information, but also keep your eye out, okay? You know, and it's important on that, okay? We'll learn all the details on this as you go, but I want to show you something real quick that I think will be fantastic for you. I was going through this, and I thought about this as we were talking, and I think this will be kind of a little bit of a mic drop on top of what we're already, going over. Some of you have seen this. If you haven't, you'll all like seeing it now anyway. So if I can get it where it shows it here. All right. If you haven't seen this before, what this does, and you'll see why I'm going to show it to you now. In the decade of the 80s, the baby boomers were, how old were they? Somebody be my guinea pig here, so talk with me here. Brittany, the baby boomers were how old during the decade of the 80s? See right here? They're in their 20s and 30s, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So because of that, they needed cheap life insurance because they didn't have much money, so they bought term life, which was the product of the decade, and that's where AONs of Primerica came about, right? So in the 90s, they were 10 years older. So how old were they?
They're 40s.
Yep, that's right. 30s and 40s, exactly. Okay. And so they started saving money. And that's where VUL and mutual funds got big, right? And now that's where WMA and WFG became along. And then we built WLG because the baby boomers were buying homes and all. And now we've started this company. Well, guess what? We build distribution for what the groups need the most. Now, based on this, projected out, how old is everybody turning over the next 10 years?
60s, 70s.
So what product did we just talk about? It is the natural evolution. You follow that example. The natural evolution from term to VUL and mutual funds to all these things is now going to be Medicare and Medicaid. I think that's phenomenal. And you can rest assured we'll have another silo built with us building a company within HGI that dominates that. So that's pretty cool. All right. Thank you so much, Kimberly. Now
Can I say one more thing?
Yes.
I think it's just relevant. I have an agent right now trying to write an application, and I teach everyone to go into the back office, click on product providers, and go to the website, right, for the product providers, so you don't have to remember Corebridge and North American and Allianz and Athene and all those things. So I want to show you this just really quickly and show you what I think is confusing on the new back office to prevent you from having that situation. So when you go here, you click on product providers, it brings all of them up. But the one thing I want you to look at is Corebridge. I've got Corebridge here and I've got Corebridge here. I've got Mutual of Omaha here. I've got Mutual of Omaha here. She's texting me because she's in this meeting trying to figure out how to get to the website, and she's clicking on this Corebridge, right? And when she clicks on this Corebridge, it's taking her to the simplified issued, and that's not where she needs to go. She needs to go back to the regular Corebridge, right? And click here. And then when she goes to resources, she can see the agent login, right? And that will take her where she needs to go. So I want you to make sure that you're reading these tags. And Jody, maybe that's something we can have them clarify a little better or something, but at least know to read these tags, because simplified issued is not the regular full underwritten term that we usually write. And I just wanted you guys to see that because it was a real-time conversation.
Yes, and we will next week, I can already tell you, do a deeper dive into the new back office. Chose not to do that today because it's still all the things that are in it. They're figuring it all out. It's already got fantastic information and it looks wonderful. But I know there's challenges and there's things, confusion, which we can handle on a one-off situation, but we will go over that in detail next week. So thank you guys. Got a great part now. We're switching over. If you don't mind making Mauricio co-host there, Kimberly, if you don't mind. Excited to have Mauricio on. And guys, this is revolutionary what you're going to see. First of all, the beginning process is done. It's simplified. It is done. First presentation, going into just a few examples right into the F&A. That's ready to rumble. And he's going to show you how that looks as a finished product. But also, man, do we have some exciting stuff. I have a great new dashboard he's put in place that I think is just going to be fantastic. And he's woven in the 6 steps when it comes to building someone's financial house. And he's going to put it right into this presentation. So Mauricio, we're excited to have you.
Hey, I'm excited to be here. Thank you, guys. Thanks, everybody. Sorry for the attire. I'm just working for everybody really, really hard. I wanted to give you a little bit of the big vision, and I'm going to jump into the things that I think everybody here will appreciate. But if you do a little research and you think about how BlackRock built something that now manages about $21 trillion of assets, they didn't sell the products. They created a platform that all agents, now companies, institutions, they use. It's called Aladdin, right? So they did something that was innovative that professionals now use for managing money. And now they're one of the biggest financial firms in the world, BlackRock, like $20 trillion that they sort of manage. And if you think about the total production, there's like 900,000 agents in America today. With last time I checked, it's $193 billion in production to do annually. So what I want you to understand is that what we just built does not exist. What is happening again is when we first built Cyberzeus, it did not exist. There was no high level, there were no click funnels, there were none of them. We created internally. We could have been as big or more. It was just that was internal. But what we just did is created a platform that is going to triple X. In other words, if we can go, like if you think about it, grab every agent. The average agent makes what? I think the average is between $80,000 and $100,000 a year. That's what you'll find in most places, right? So what I'm going to show you today is how a tool, because humans will always gravitate to simplicity. This platform can easily, very conservatively, triple any agent's production. And I'm going to show you how that's possible. So if you think about, we have now an opportunity to do something like what BlackRock's done for the financial industry, because we'll have the platform that will attract them. WFG don't have it, Primerica don't have it, Northwestern Mutual don't have it, New York Life don't have it, nobody has it. So it becomes your super magnet on top of Hubert's system, right? Because this all becomes a unit. And everything else that we have, compensation and all the other opportunities that everybody here knows about. But I just don't want you to mistake this just for a little tool, a little F&A. That's not what it is. What it is the pathway. It is the runway for an agent who is struggling right now to be able to deliver the maximum amount of value to the consumer that makes them worthy of a much higher compensation. It all gravitates around the value you can deliver to a client. And so I know that this tool, if used by us wisely, is going to reduce the turn, the revolving door. That's not just it, this the industry in general. Like 90% of people fail in insurance. Right? Anyway, I don't care if you go to New York Life, if you go to WG, if you go to HCI, whoever. But if we can simplify, we're going to have a much, much, much bigger success rate. So that's how I'm thinking. And I want you to just, and that's why the effort that's been put behind this is so monumental, because it has that potential to do that in this world that we live in. So with that being said, let's jump into what we're talking about here. All right, so let's bring this up. So this is your Abacus Wizard dashboard now. And what it's going to do, instead of just having beautiful this and beautiful that, it's a sales intelligence dashboard. And what it is that, you see, I only have 4 clients here. If I was a regular new agent, I may be just looking at 4 term sales, right? I'm going to sell 4 term sales at $30 each a month, right? Maybe if I was, it depends, right? Depending on your level of experience, you would be looking at 4 clients and what's the potential. Well, these 4 clients, we have some core products and solutions that we provide. We're going to close the gap on protection, term, permanent. We're going to take a look at what's the gap between where they're at and how much they need to save to arrive at the right nest egg so that they can generate the income they need in retirement. And then the proper allocation. What's true diversification? Without you having to know any of that, it'll just tell you, how much money could go into an index annuity and IUL, how much should be in the bank, and even how much of the money you can refer to a money manager if you're not licensed to sell securities. So it's $92,000 for clients, because now I'm able to truly deliver full value. So I want you to look at one of those clients is an avatar. I put my dad's name in here, but I said, okay, so I took Jose Garcia. I think he's got about, I don't know, 400,000, 400 to 500,000 in assets. And you can see that without you having to do any calculation, it automatically did the proper diversification between risk world. So the world of potential, meaning this is the money that based on his age and risk tolerance and all that, he had to consider having in the world of investments. 155,000 out of what he has can go into AUM. That stands for assets under management. Now, over 10
Mauricio,
years,
can you make this any bigger? I don't know if you can make the screen any bigger or not. I don't know.
I think this is as big as it can be.
That's good. Right there, we can see it better. Yeah.
Okay.
There you go. I just
So
wanted to be able to
the
see it.
asset under management means you can refer it. If you're not securities licensed, you can always refer it. We have a referral program, right? You can refer that. And if over the next 10 years, that money grew at 7%, in 10 years, that's a $32,000 potential that could go to the grid. But it also shows that 55% based on the client's age ought to be considered to go into the world of protection. That's where IULs are. That's where IULs are, FIAs and IULs. In this case, the client's over 55. And for income purposes, it's going to favor index annuity because they don't have enough time to grow and kind of overcome the cost of the insurance and all that. So, and it gives you your commission potential. We're gonna have later in here the value you add, like what that represents for the client, so that you also know the massive impact that you are providing the client. Okay, but if we keep going down, because this basically is like the high priority, right? High priorities you can look at. Down here, it says other opportunities. Now you see all of the opportunities here that you can work with. So just imagine filling out an affidavit appropriately, and immediately you can discover the opportunities. This comes from an idea that Kimberly actually said. You're always looking for monthly money, and you're looking for lump sum money, right? That's what you're looking for. And the system just found it for you. Like it found the client. Look, all you have to do is be a master F&A taker. That's it. You just have to master one skill now. It is the skill of having the conversation to gather the data. The skill of learning how to make all the rest of the stuff, you'll learn it as you go. But in the meantime, you'll make a lot of money and help a lot of people. So again, we go back to here's a little bit more about description. Jose Garcia's AUM, what is it, and how do we even calculate over what time the compensation, right? 6% common index annuity could be a little more or less depending on the surrender schedule and the product, but it tells you, what it is. And there's a lot more details. Here's the retirement gap, meaning that the client needs to save 1,342. I mean, that is the amount that they need to save per month if they want to get to the nest egg size that they need to be able to draw the money that will maintain their lifestyle in retirement. So obviously at a 70% comp, because when you're designing a whole life or an IUL for the purposes of supplementing retirement, that's about 60 to 70% compensation maybe on the premium. That's why you say 70%. And that's going to change. That's why we have the word potential, because there's many things that could change depending on the design. But it gives you at least a quick sort of a visual to run with. And obviously all of this stuff, it's going to continuously be polishing itself. Here is the wife's permanent insurance and the comp over here. So it's just, again, to move a little faster, you will have now a dashboard that teaches you where opportunities are. Now, if this is like too complicated, I made it easy for you. All you have to do is now go to a client, go to Jose, and here go to his sort of where all the summary is, where all the details you gather from him or her, their sales opportunities. So you can have just all the sales opportunities for that client right there. So you can move 155 to AUM. You can move 189 to index annuity. You can move, you can sell IUL, at least what they need. They may not be able to afford that yet, depending, but that's what they need. This is how much perm insurance they need, and then we'll make it clickable because the total potential compensation for leaving that family properly diversified, protecting them from all the risks that exist out there, which are what? The volatility, the systemic risk, the tax risk, all these different things. These products are going to solve these problems. So the compensation for you, or not for you, but for the grid, and this is depending on your level, will be $68,000. So before, a new agent may be looking at, I'll do an IUL with $3,600. Now you have a client with 68,000. So when I say we tripled the production, I am being conservative, because this tool is going to help. It's going to, even if you don't see it, it's like X-ray. It's going to do an X-ray to that client and show you what the true potential it has. Does that make sense? So now, how are you actually going to do that? Because this is good for you to see, but how are you going to help the client? This is how we made it so simple. And I'm excited about the release we're about to do, because, going back to the client here, to Jose, you can see that we already made, we first had all the calculators ready for you. So before, you could go in here and you could show any concept, but this was a little complicated. Like, what should I show them? All of these are great, and you can have a calculation done in 1 second, any of them. But it's like, what do I show them? So in this journey of simplification, because human nature will gravitate to simplicity, we made it simple for you and gave you the fixed basics that you're going to cover with your clients. So once you take the financial needs analysis, you're going to go to a client and say, okay, Mr. Client, when you come back, you say, okay, these are our 6 steps, 6 financial basics, which is first, increase income, manage debt, have an emergency fund, have proper protection, build wealth, and preserve your wealth. So let's talk about the first one, which is increase income. So because the system is doing all the financial calculations for you, it caught that this client needs $1,342 per month that they need to save extra. And so if they're not going to do it through budgeting, right? If they're not going to do it through budgeting, they need to do it through generating more income. And we do have a product for more income, and that is the HGI opportunity. And so we took the calculator, we simplified it so much so that you can show them based on their number how much they need to do in terms of a production or people amount of families helped to close the gap. And not only that, it's a road to them becoming a millionaire as well. I mean, first closing the gap, maybe doubling the income, maybe achieving the new 6 figures, and why not become a millionaire? And here's how it's possible. You show them the problem, right? And then you say the HCI has this scenario. First, we can help you close the retirement gap because if you help one family, our average sale at an R&D level, that's $2,800. So you with one sale a month, you're actually 200% over your gap. So you can actually, by doing what you did, by part-time speaking to people about how they can diversify, how they need to do a financial needs analysis. That's basically what it is. Because that will determine the products that they need. So we're just assuming a average sale, one sale, not like all the sales that we actually show potentially for a client. So it's 200% of what you need. So you think you can find a couple of hours in your month or in a week or whatever, especially if we provide you with the tools to be able to ignite those conversations, and you begin to open those possibilities, right? Now, what if you wanted to double your income plus covering the gap? Meaning we help you earn those 1342 that you need to be able to save, but then we also double your income because you need inflation. It's going to continue to squeeze your lifestyle. So for that, you're looking at 2 sales a month. And then you have 2 people in your base shop, meaning you begin to build your agency, and here's your total production. So you're doing 2 sales a month yourself, personally, right? And then you have 2 people in your base shop who you're training, you're helping, they're doing 4 sales a month, maybe 3 IULs and 1 annuity, right? On a monthly basis. So that is more than double your need. And if you want to now go to the major leagues here, where you build agencies, now you have 5 people in the base shop, and 3 first-generation leaders that have small teams of 5 producing an average of 4 sales. That's a $500,000 income. Now, that's 3,700% above what you need right now. That's a total of 60 sales, obviously, because you have 3 leaders, right? In order to do RMD, you should at least have 5 agents that are producing license, right? Doing some production. So whether that's 5 or 6 or 7 or 8, whatever, but the numbers here aren't like, too crazy. So again, this now brings that conversation to the client about generating more income. This is one possibility. The other possibility is they delay retirement for 7 years. The other possibility is they have to budget their way to all the way down to save extra $1,000, and they maybe very well have it. And I'm going to go on a limb very quickly here just to show you there is a way in the budgeting here that we have. Show you budget analyzer. You can 1 second bring the data, and basically, okay. I may need to refresh because this was actually done. Let me show you on the development side. Oh, because I didn't choose a client. Okay, we don't have a client from to a live database. Okay. Unless something went to budget analyzer. Here's all the data just popped in. All right, so you can see if the client has potential for saves. He has 11,000 of income, 10,000 of expenses. So maybe he does have the ability of saving, right? Maybe he has the capacity because he has some money. So but without you going here, because you could do this to kind of figure out if you are being suitable. Client only has $530 in net cash flow, really. So he does not have enough for the $1,300 that he needs to save. So he needs to earn more money, even if he went through cutting. You have to start cutting a bunch of stuff. But with that being said, let's get back to the main thing here, which is the simplicity of going over to the six steps. And by the way, here, if you want to play more with the numbers and the possibilities, you say, well, listen, if you really wanted to do this like big, in a big way, let's say that, even if you had no personal production and no annuity sales, but you had a great base shop, you did a double-digit recruiting, you have 40 sales. Actually, if you did double-digit recruiting, that's more than 40 sales. But if let's say you had 30 units in your base shop, this is the calculator that Jody loves. It's just made into here, right? It's available to you now in this format. So you can basically play with these numbers that you see, and you can show the client where the money's coming from exactly to make that happen. That's up to you. You may just want to cover this and that. I give you more tools than you need just in case you need them. Go back to the client and say, well, now that we got that taken care of, now let's talk about managing debt. You can see the data came right away. took all the client's assets and say, well, based on your data of debt, this is how much it would take for you to actually pay it off. This is how much interest you're actually scheduled to pay based on the type of debt that you have. And obviously you can use the right now we have 2 strategies, but you will have 12. And I'm gonna share with you why you got to be very excited about that. Because see, right now you have these are the most kind of famous out there because they basically just gravitate around paying either the highest interest rate right first and then take that payment and apply to the next one, or pick the smallest one and then once you cover that, you take that money. But those are very simple strategies. So you can do that to begin here with the client. You can do the combined household and just run because all the data you're getting is already on your FNA. So you can show them the interest that they're scheduled to pay. And maybe if they have a little bit of money, like those $500, they say, let's use the money that those $530 to eliminate the debt will generate more income for the rest of the stuff, whatever. Then you can show them how much interest they can actually save by applying those extra payments. Like they went from having to pay 2,000 plus in interest to only this amount. And so in the one-pager concept, you'll see that we have debt management, and the way that we're going to structure that calculator, right now it's educational base. But the way that we did it is we figured out, okay, which one of all the strategies to eliminate debt have the highest cash flow to the client, fastest way of getting out of it, most tax deductions if possible. And so it's puts them in this order, right? Like if you have a 5 or 6% interest rate, a mortgage that can eliminate very high interest rates, then maybe that'll make sense. It'll free up the cash flow, help you do a lot of different things, and it could even become deductible up to a certain point. And so it goes all the way down from the top strategy based on those 3 criteria all the way down to bankruptcy, right? Which is the last one you want to do ever, right? But this is, I'm not going to spend much time here. Just know that the debt calculator that you see when you're going over with your clients managing debt, you will have these, and the system will automatically pop the top ones. And maybe the client, they can say, you can show them that they're gonna save, $20,000 in interest, and they're gonna free up X amount of cash flow, and they're gonna be able to build so much more wealth for retirement, but they still don't want to touch the equity or not the refinance it. That's fine. You can show them the second best, the third best, and the fourth best way of doing that, so that they can decide which way they want to go. At least now it becomes more of a truly education base on that. If you go to the debt clock, you'll see that debt is accumulating faster than wealth. So we gotta figure this out for the clients, help them. Now, then you go to the emergence. Yeah.
One thing, I think it's important that we have this because 2 things. First of all, what you're seeing today is still in the beta. And just want to make sure everybody knows that this part's being finished. But also, whenever we show people the 6 steps, we know what to tell them on increasing cash flow. We know what to tell them on all the other things. But to be honest with you, on debt elimination, it's just something we said that we didn't really do anything with. A few of you know kind of how to use it. Kimberly's kind of knows her way around that, but most of you don't really say anything to somebody. This at least gives them a little value add on that side.
Correct. And because we know we could do this, right? Maybe after convention, and then we'll talk to Hubert and Tim and figure out that we can have a little app. Clients plug in their stuff on their side, and it teaches them how to eliminate that debt and then take the savings and put it into our products for them to build wealth. So that would be a step 2 after seeing the different strategies. Because if we can show them the cash flow, what are they going to do with that? And they can apply it. They can have their own little software, their own little tool. They can log in, just like you can log in as an agent here. They can log into their little tool. And there's some companies out there charging an arm and a leg, like $3,000 or $4,000 for something like that, what we can actually provide to the client at value add. So I know there's a few people excited about that, and that's I just declared it, and it will become a reality. Now, the next thing is emergency fund. And I'll move quickly because I know we're out of time, but just very quickly. The rule of thumb from the Ray Ramsey's to the to any financial planner will probably say, or any financial professional say 3 to 6 months. I think we're doing a disservice to the client to just say 3 to 6 months. We have to really look at their situation and give them what is their proper really emergency funding and give them some data to back that up. Here's what I mean by that. To determine what should be the amount that needs to be in an emergency fund, it has to take in consideration their children, the job stability. This is coming from the FNA, by the way. Is their income stable? Is it somewhat stable? Is it unstable? Someone that's in full commissions 100%, right, may be a little bit different than those that have a very like a Fortune 500 company salary type of situation, right? Health. What if somebody has an excellent health versus somebody that has very poor health? Does that change? Of course. There's some data. There's some algorithm here that teaches you how to do that. Net income, not I mean gross, not gross income, but the actual net income. The FNA takes the income and it does all the deductions. Once you see the new FNA, it's gonna blow your mind. It's nothing like what you've seen. For those of you that have gone in there and have begin to use it a little bit. But what it is, to make a long story short, it gathers all the information and it determines what ought to be the client's emergency fund. It's for him, it's for this couple, is 42,000, which represents about 5 months, I think. Right? And is about 5 months covered. That's accurate for them. So they have 70,000 in liquid assets, which is more than they need. So they're over. They're recommended 42,000. So they have an over that they can redirect somewhere else and they should be okay. Right? They have more money than they need in the emergency fund or liquid assets. So you could take, 30,000 and place it somewhere else. And then you go through proper protection. And I love this one because when it comes to proper protection, you can basically, in 1 second, show the client, this is how much term insurance you need. You need 1.6, 1.1 million, but you have 250. And so all you need is 915. So let's, actually the first meeting we handled that. And then how much perm you need for both of them. Here's husband and wife. So when you're having to have this conversation with them, it takes 1 second. How long did it took before to be able to show somebody how much term and how much perm and why? Right? So again, you can have this conversation with the client, and finally the estate preservation. So it takes all their data, import the data. It will analyze their situation to determine if they need, like, what sort of estate planning. Now, very careful here because you're not an attorney, right? You're just kind of showing them, look, based on your situation, the state you live in, the current estate tax exemption, it's got a lot of back end stuff that goes into analyzing the plan. But it takes, what are the priority documents the client needs? Do they need a state-based planning or do they need just a will? Right? Because not everybody needs a trust necessarily. You may need to just do a will base. If you do a trust base, in this case, client's got a lot of assets, they have special needs children, it'll tell you which documents and what's the average cost in the market for that. So obviously through net law, we can save that client 80% or 60 or whatever that number is. It's a big savings, right? Because it helps you educate them and say, wow, that means I can have these documents and it'll probably be done with $400, $500, $600. That's a lot less than having to spend $5,000. So these are just the basics, guys. Now, here's what you will see tonight if I'm able to complete that. You'll see a second section. Let me just do 2 more minutes of this, Jody, because I want people to get prepared for this. I think it's exciting. Because obviously, once you go through these 6 steps, now you have to get into the strategies that expand the life of the money. This is where you move money big time. Like, if you're just going to do like general type of planning, insurance planning or annuity planning like that, you're not gonna move the money from the big monies. You're not gonna move the money from the people that are been managing it for a long time. You need to come in with a complete different sort of angle, and you don't need to be afraid because we're gonna give you the power to do that. Let me give you an example. Down here, you're gonna have 6 calculators. We have 26 right here. You don't need all 26. I mean, you have them, but you're gonna basically be using about half of them at most clients. Like, what is one of the risk people have? They have systemic risk. Meaning if we have a total market collapse and all the money is in the market, most likely they'll experience a very and by the way, I brought this up. By the way, I have to show you this because what I'm getting ready to present in Miami, but I do want you to see this. 19 from the 1900s all the way to 2015, it says the markets is only making new highs 28% of the time. 72% of the time is trying to recover. It's either breaking even or trying to recover. That's extremely important. This will be in your one pagers because it speaks to why you need that diversification. Because these secular markets, right? They're saying with 16 years bull markets that we're living through, never have they been seen in the past. There's been some periods. I mean, most of the secular bear markets been much longer than most of these bull markets. But anyways, that's another little story just to kind of create the it's like the segue to what I'm going to show you right now, which is speaking with the client and say, look, if you being properly diversified doesn't necessarily mean having the right allocation between stocks and bonds. It really means having different asset classes. And in here, you can import the data in 1 second and you can show the client based on where they're at. You can say, look, Mr. Client, like this particular one has $370,000 all in the market. If I move the data, I move a little bit of the data from Jose. So what it is that he has only 370,000 over here. Okay. So every profile is going to be different. So if that's the case, you'll say, look, Mr. Client, if you have all the money, if all you have in your checking account is the money you need for rent, and then you have nothing else, you have nothing in the hybrid, based on your age, you ought to consider keeping no more than 152 over in that world, but maybe consider taking 55% and protecting that in the hybrid world. And having your emergency fund, because you need to have some at least 3 to 6 months for emergency, right? And so because in this way, if the markets do tank, and you need an income or you need something, you can always get access to a portion of this money without having to sell any of your investments at a loss. And this is more important as you age, as you increase, as you age. So what's happening? You're providing value. You're not talking about a particular product. And so you have an opportunity to sell $186,000 worth of what? Of an IUL if the client is younger than 55, or an FIA if it's older than 55. And you have some of the general guidelines down here on what's best practices. Okay? But I'm just telling you that just like that, you'll have 6 of these things you can go with your client. Like I'll give you one last one, and then I promise I'll shut up. But the yeah, there is Patrick Kelly. You have Dave McKnight, and you have a bunch of people talking about the power zero tax-free retirement, but nobody really tells you how to get there. And this is not tax advice. It's just teaching people what the right balances should be. Look how you back it up. If you bring somebody who is, let's just change the ages here real quick. Let's just say you bring somebody who is 45 years of age and they want to retire at 65. They're married, filing jointly. The amount of money that they need to have in each of the 3 tax buckets is this. If they fall anything outside of this, they're going to pay tax on their Social Security. And here you can back it up. You say, look, if today you need whatever that amount is, if today you need $7,000 to live on, you're gonna need 13,000 when you retire. That's 167,000. So you're gonna need 167,000 when you retire, but you only have 43 of standard deductions. So anything above 43,000, you're gonna be taxed on. And not only that, half your Social Security is going to be applied, or it's provisional income. So what it means is that you can really only have no more than 2,115 of income coming from your taxable buckets, because if you have more than that, 32 plus 2,115 and the other income is gonna bump you into what's taxable. And I don't think I did a good job explaining that, but I'm just feeling pressure at the time. Everybody got to go. But we'll have the opportunity to train you on this. because you'll be able to show a client very, very easily what their allocation needs to be. And the general rule here is that if uh, they're going to fund their 401ks, IRAs, and stuff like that, they have to be very careful up to how much they need to have in there. Because anything that comes from that bucket is going to be added to their Social Security, to half of their Social Security. And so if it goes over 32,000 for married couple, then that's when Social Security begins to be taxed at 50%. And that has not changed since 1984. So it means that you have such an opportunity to sell Roth IRA, Roth 401k, and life insurance massively. 2.6 million need to be in the tax-free. They cannot have more than 52,000. I mean, they can. The average American has the opposite. They have 2 million in an IRA and they have 50,000 in a Roth. So that opens the opportunities for a lot of conversions, a lot of annuity, a lot of IUL, a lot of stuff. When you come to a client with things like this, which we want to train you on, that's when you move the large chunks of money. That's when you move hundreds of thousands, if not millions, into the products that we use, that we have, and provide clients with massive value. And we didn't even cover the tip of the iceberg, but I would advocate and ask Jody and maybe the company to make a space so we can train on these things and help you guys be out there, not looking at a client with a term policy opportunity, but rather I just have to be a master of taking, and as a matter of fact, you can become a master of taking the FNA in the next 30 minutes. Here's why. We have this thing called Super Agent Skills. And in Super Agent Skills, you have the full video on how do you take a proper FNA. Like it teaches you like a master.
Scene, first client meeting, office or Zoom setting. Hi, Joe. Hi, Carol.
So you can come here to Super Agent Skills because you want to be a super agent, not just average agent or below average agent. You want to be a super agent, right? So you come here to Super Agent and it gives you the script and audio and video. It teaches you how to be a master on taking the FNA. And if you have a little bit of time, just go to the IRA College because this will show you just how big of an opportunity it is to know how to speak the IRA language. 44 trillion of Americans' money is there, and you need to know how to have that conversation. So Jody, we'll have time to go dive deep into training at some other time.
You're good. Thanks. And there's also real simplistic parts that we have where the X-curve presentation's completed and the questions going straight into the FNA are already done. It pre-populates once you put that information in. So we want to make sure you guys see that also. So we'll go over that again next week. And guys, we are going to be carving out times to where, there are things you want to learn more about. And I think sometimes the frustration comes that, we feel like we're trying to honor your time and trying to cram everything we know into an hour, hour and a half and all. And it just ain't gonna happen. So you have to learn some things. So you can self-learn by going to, videos and seminars and things, but at the same time, whenever if we give it other time where Mauricio's training on this or other subjects, you got to make your schedule work to get there. So thank you so much, Mauricio. Hey, also, I will be in Salt Lake City this Saturday for a huge event. If you know anyone in that area, let me know. Get them to the event. It's going to be awesome with Rafael Preciado and Juan Cardenas and Adolfo Rodriguez. So I'm very excited to be there. So thanks, guys. Have a great day. I'll see some of you in 15 minutes when I do the